It's crashes like these that are a sad reminder of the dangers of drinking and driving. And today, high school students in La Crosse were given another dose of reality. A young man who survived a drunk driving crash is retelling his story in hopes of preventing anything like this from happening again. News 8's Pauline Lee joins us live in the studio to share his story.
It was a car crash Kevin Brooks says he had better odds of dying in than surviving. Now he's speaking to high school students all across North America, hoping they will use his story as a reminder to think before they move.
I don't remember driving there. Don't remember being there at the party. My friends filled me in on a lot of the next parts.
I tell them a story. It's a personal story of experiences I've been through. Really come down to some poor choices I made and consequences myself and others around me have dealt with because of those poor choices.
Canadian native Kevin Brooks, like anyone else, has a story to tell.
It was hard, in all honesty, to say a lot of the stuff that I say now in detail. I mean, I'd make myself pretty vulnerable on stage, but I find the more vulnerable I am, the more detailed I am, the more students are affected.
But his story isn't one to take lightly.
It's been a long journey. I mean, I nearly died.
One night in 2000, Brooks was heading home from a party in his hometown in Canada with one of his best friends. Brooks was intoxicated at the wheel. He had done it many times before, but this night was different.
Something I've been doing for years prior, and it just caught up to me one night, and I'm paralyzed from the chest down, but even worse, my childhood hockey buddy Brendan was with me in the car, and he did not survive the crash.
Now more than a decade since the crash, he travels all over North America, hoping to move high school students with his story.
I love watching, the light bulb go off as I'm talking to an audience, and you can just see. I watch people go through this run of emotions where they're kind of laughing because it's pretty light at the beginning, and all of a sudden they're looking all serious or they're crying, and you can see they're really thinking. I mean, I love that.
It's a way, he says, of coping with the tragedy, paying tribute to a dear friend, and making sure students hear him loud and clear about the dangers of drunk driving.
Teenagers are dying in car crashes all too often, and it's usually human error, it's taking risks, it's impaired driving, it's speeding, it's not wearing seatbelts.
And if students ever had any questions, all they'd have to do is just think with their feet.
Just wiggle your toes and remember our story. That's a little something I like to say because I can't wiggle mine anymore, and a simple thing is that. Wiggle your toes before you make that poor choice, and hopefully it'll help you make the better one than I did.
And Brooks' story doesn't just include drunk driving. He also talks about his personal experience with suicide, violence, and bullying, as well as many other topics students face today.
Thank you, Pauline. Brooks' story has reached over 500,000 people in more than 1,000 high schools in Canada and the U.S.